What is it? So very short definition, because I think that will be probably enlightening on how we see it, and we being Clarion Consulting, which I represent, as well as the Location-Based Marketing Association. Secondly, why should you care? So what's the big deal? And third, how should you be using it? And that should be most of the time. And throughout the presentation, I want to focus on things that move beyond the checking, beyond the Foursquare special, if you will. And I will be trying as much as possible to use local, that being European examples of tools and technologies and case studies. So as a definition, to juxtapose it against location-based services, which are really focused on mobile devices. So any services or technology on mobile devices that use the location-enabled feature of that phone, versus what location-based marketing, in our opinion, should be about, which is to target the individual consumer or prospect consumer where he or she is at, using a variety of available marketing media, amongst which is mobile, but providing value and relevance to somebody at the place where he or she is at. So why should I care? I've downloaded a couple of the interesting statistics on this mobile. So first of all, we start off that over 50% of all internet connections are now through phones that are in location, that are able to be targeted in a location way. The second, if we think that 20% of all search, so this is all Google search to here, is mobile. So if we take that population and look at that, mobile users are 45% more likely to search locally, and 20% of foot traffic visits a store in response to location-based ad. And then a whopping 55%, this is the one that I like best, 55% of people are willing to travel 50 minutes for a 10% discount. I'm sure in Holland that will be even longer. Secondly, while 89% of people search online for information about the product they want to buy, only 7% actually, of the total retail volume sales, only 7% actually buys online, and 93% still buys the product at local retail. So the point of purchase is still a very, very relevant place to do your marketing. Now, we want to take you through 6 steps to use location-based marketing in an integrated fashion, starting with linking your physical assets to online platforms or your own online assets. Then targeting your customer at his or her location, so locating the customer. Third, and this will probably sound familiar, you start listening before you start tracking and engaging. But you don't just listen to stuff about your product, your shop, or your brand, but you listen at the location where it's being done. Then you attract and engage. You transact, which is now obviously possible in the loyalty sense on a mobile phone, or even in the sales discount sense. And you try obviously to analyze great results and to retain the customer. So how can we link our physical assets to our online assets or online platforms? There's general 4 ways now. There's obviously going to be more as we move on. First, your shops, your restaurant, or your locations, you link them to search platforms. Obviously, let's say every good retailer now has a Google Places page, but you also link them to the geo-social platforms such as Foursquare, but also review sites such as Yelp. And there's many local examples. There's way too many to put on the slide. So these are just the big names. Secondly, a little bit less familiar is that you link your products and your in-store merchandise online. For instance, through QR or through NFC. In the near future, we have NFC-enabled phones, or through augmented reality layers of information that you place on top of things in your store. Obviously, this can link to online information such as videos or even your web shop. Third, a bit more on the innovative side, you can now link your real-time inventory information, specifically interesting obviously for perishables, to mobile platforms. Again, big name there is Google Product Search, which you can do there, but that links to more the Android world. Retailers, Milo are 2 platforms that you can use to target, let's say, to sell your stock, your existing stock at a certain location. And last but not least, staff obviously should be using the social media that you're trying to use to target your consumers. whether that's front office or back office is really a matter, I think, of how you want to fund it. So it's a quick case study using QR. I think that's a familiar concept now. Volkswagen Taggle really is a Dutch platform that links QR to online video in an integrated, interoperable way. They've done this with in the pilot with 12 dealerships, which are really just placed QR codes on cars, which you can then scan and you get online video. So it's a very basic and very easy to deploy concept really. They had over 20,000 views in 6 months. And the interesting metric here is I think the follow-up research they did for everybody, which is that 96% thought it was useful information. It was stuff that they would look at while they were waiting for being served by a salesperson. 92% thought it was easy to use or excellently easy to use, which is not always the image of QR. And then 92% would use it again. So after you've linked your physical assets to your online assets, you want to target your customer where he or she is at. Well, how can we do this? 4 general ways. First is to let your customer do it him or herself. I'll stick with him for expedience's sake. I think that's the general advantage of the check-in as a concept. It's kind of like an opt-in for marketing. People showing themselves around the location, opening themselves up for an engagement. There's also the location-enabled tweet, and now we have, of course, the Facebook tag for your location if you want to show people where you're saying something. So examples locally are, for instance, priority moments for O2, but the big one obviously there is Foursquare. That's a brand name. Secondly, you can choose that the merchant or mall locates a customer. That is done through indoor positioning. The technology will be demoed later. And for instance, a local player for that is Cubus in Sweden. Third, and I think a very, very underestimated one, not in the UK but in the rest of the world, is have a carrier or a partner carrier locate you. They do that via cell triangulation, so they know where the phone is at. It doesn't need to be a smartphone, it's a very important factor. There's a subscriber opt-in from the start, which is a very important factor. And they use a technology called geofencing, which really is drawing a virtual radius around the location. If a customer walks in with their phone, they get an SMS or an MMS, whatever they subscribe to. The local example is O2 More, which I'm going to do a bit more in detail. Finally, the ad networks. Some may be familiar with the fact that Google Analytics really has a very great local way to, Google AdWords has a very great local way to focus your ad on a mobile phone. But there's also display ads. In a company called Whitespace, there's several players in this field. With Whitespace is the European version. Case study. I really love this example from O2 locally. They have involving 6 million subscribers in under a year of deployment. This is 23% of their total subscriber base, so it's been very popular. What they do is they send SMSs, like in the example I said, if you come into the area of a shop in a kind that you have food on your local, for instance, you go like Mexican restaurants and you walk into a radius, and you only get those targeted ads. And you get an SMS, so there's no need for any smartphone or anything. And they send 300,000 coupons for 50% off a software together with Starbucks, 14% redeemed to coupons, and 93% users said they recalled the ad. If you think of that, Foursquare has 11 million users in 3 years, and they had 6 in under a year. I think this is really the future of the growth of location-based marketing. So then we start listening. Now, listening in the location-based marketing world has to do with listening of stuff that's being said or done at a location. So where traditional social media monitoring tools listen to keywords, or let's say you can focus on keywords, stuff that's being said about your event or about your location, these platforms can focus on things that are being said and shared at your location. There's obviously the geosocial platform merchant dashboards. I really only placing Foursquare here because if I look at the ones from Google and Facebook and some of the others, I don't think they're mature enough yet, but if you do have a Foursquare promotion, they have a great merchant dashboard that you can listen to what people are saying and photographing around you. The location of search trends in Google and the location enabled tweets. So you can still use your familiar tweet deck, but then focus on specific geocode where you want to listen to. And finally, the crowdsourced field research. That's really a very brand new technology. If you want to know more about that, just ask me in the break. Just go on for time's sake. The case study here is from a company called ValueVine, one of the geosocial listening tools. They went and researched 5 brick-and-mortar businesses, Starbucks, Apple stores, and looked at what total content was being said and which would have been discovered just based on keywords. If you take, for instance, the Apple Store, only 24% of content being produced at a local level. For instance, I am at an Apple store, Foursquare check-in, or I really love this Apple store in London. That would have been caught by Raven 6, for instance, social media marketing monitoring tools. But 76% would not have been caught. For instance, somebody saying, I don't like my burger, or I don't like this place, but they would be saying, for instance, at McDonald's, really want to know that. So they call it a local blind spot. You can see it's quite big. The attract and engage bit really is using an integrated way of the traditional media alongside, let's say, the new media. I could have had print and radio here and so on. They're starting to look into location-based marketing as well. But every one of them has a very local aspect of it. There's local print, local advertising, there's local billboards, there's even narrowcasting at a specific location, and obviously online and mobile has a local variation. The thing to watch here though is that these things are now being linked. You can use a QR code to link print to online, for instance, or at the screens we have up here, you can use mobile phones. People are checking in to something and display it on a narrowcasting screen, like with the screenscape. Case that I couldn't find one with the great metrics in Europe. I think I really like the richness of the metrics of this case study. Anybody knows Scavenger? Scavenger is like Foursquare, but it's really focused on a game dynamic, so you can play games really to get value, like a promotion. Buffalo Wild Wings, very famous in North America, had 184,000 participants in a 12-week period only. 1 in 3 users, so that's 33% return to play, 20,000 user-generated challenges. I think that really shows the involvement. 100 million impressions. And I like the brand engagement. On average, the players spent 90 seconds per challenge, which is a total engagement of 3.6 minutes. So, if you come through the attract and engage, you can transact as well. Obviously, there's loyalty rewards. Foursquare has their advantages, but there's others that focus on creating more points, which can lead to providing exclusive privileges. If you ask people what they're really looking for, the first one is cash, something that they can easily replace for cash. And the second one is I would like to have some exclusive privileges, the front in the line at a local Starbucks, for instance. The second is a deal redemption. There's several deals platforms out there. And the third one is sales. Now, some people say we need to wait for mobile payments to really take off. As you know, with the promise of NFC, and everybody's working on that. But there's actually options right now. Amex is partnering with Foursquare, for instance, that combine your check-in in a local place with a $5 credit on your Amex that you can spend at that location only. So a very interesting way to combine mobile payment, or actually traditional payment with the card, and mobile marketing platform. PayPal has similar capacities. So in summary, you link your physical assets to your online assets. You figure out a way how you want to locate your consumers, how you want to target them. You start listening before you attract and engage. And attract and engage using all marketing media in the integrated fashion. You transact, and then, if possible, you try to retain. So link to any existing loyalty platform or your social CRM. I'm sure there's some people that's going to be speaking about that today. And with that, I think I'm pretty much done. I'd like to show one demonstration of the indoor position. Sure.
Hi everyone, I'm Hans from Cubus, and as PJ showed me the ways on how to use indoor positioning, I just want to demonstrate a little bit about the technology. So basically, what we did when you were drinking coffee this morning was that we set up our indoor positioning system for the whole conference area. And right now I have myself here and Michael on the row G. He is now the red dot on this screen here. So we are the only one using the system here today. Hopefully next year there will be hundreds. And one thing that I also want to show that many people don't know, that it's very difficult to do indoor positioning on iPhone. So we're actually proud to present the only working indoor positioning system that works on iPhone today. And it's going to be in a public release tomorrow. So it's not even out yet. All right?
Excellent. So we will show them around?
Yeah, I can show around, and we will be around as well. So during coffee breaks or lunch or anything, just, you know,
Great.
get it through.
Can I just say a little bit about what people are using for it? Do you have clients already that have tried it and tested it and stuff?
We have many different use cases, everything from companies that are using it, but also shopping malls and airports that is kind of starting to get into this. We are doing this without any installation. So we're using the existing radio networks that we see here, and this is pretty new. Normally, indoor positioning would be done by a Cisco system or something that you pay a lot for to be installed. So this is just the starting point of a new way of doing it, and also a little bit more accurate way of doing it. So,
Yeah.
thanks.
So there are some other innovations, such as just mentioning Screenscape, which is powering these screens right now. I'll show you just a short introduction of the power of the platform. Because let's say the integration with Foursquare and welcoming your mayor as it comes in, all those kinds of things are becoming more and more available to us, which go beyond just having a coupon on a mobile phone.
Question?
Yeah.
Any questions, Peter? So we'll just wait for the look. The live stream is going to be
I've seen some new applications around checking in, but not necessarily location-based. So Get Blue, for instance, allows you to check in to TV programs and books and things like that. Is that something that you're interested in and that you're able to extend your experience into?
I'd go as far as, let's say, events which are, let's say, time and space combined, still mentioning those as location-based marketing initiatives. When it really comes down to Milo and getting with all the content sharing platforms, I think they just use the check-in as a nice, opt-in mechanism. So I think they've inherited or they've borrowed the concept of the check-in for the opt-in principle. I don't consider them really location-based sharing platforms.
more questions? Everybody needs coffee. One quick question, Peter. What's your sort of option for the best service out there, the one emerging one?
Well, and I really like Roamer, their study. It's like Gigwalk and Errand. Does anybody know Gigwalk from the United States or Errand? Oh yeah, great. I'll ask you all about it in the rec. These are what you call distributed mobile workforces. What it really is you have a mobile phone, you install their app, you get an invite code, which not everybody can use the app. So it's very curated. You get an invite code if you're being selected in one way or the other. And then you get all kinds of location-based tasks. So let's say you walk around here in London and you get a task. So you make a photograph of the billboards that show, for instance, Coca-Cola. You make a picture, you put a few lines in there's a couple of questions that you answer, and then you get €4 or £4 on your PayPal. So a lot of people obviously wanted to have it, a lot of people would like to have just make a bit of money. But what's in the back of it is all these, let's say, field research initiatives that companies need to deploy that normally have a huge startup cost and then a huge variable cost to get all these people in the road, asking you all these questions in these questionnaires in the middle of the street. And while they can now use thousands of mobile users that are making $4 or $5 bucks a pop. And obviously that's make it much more cheaper for any type of distributed field work. It could be field research, but it's being used a lot in, for instance, mapping as well, checking the Google map, whether it's been accurate or not. So that's a very promising field of location-based marketing from a marketing research, marketing execution perspective that I really like.
Lastly, the February checks in with the exhibitor stands. What do they get? What's the price?
Yeah, so if you check into all the booths that are here, so check into all the booths, you get 2 hours free consultancy. So if you're still interested after this speech, then do check it.
Great. Thank you very much.